Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and bishops of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And salutations to the beloved prophets and brothers continue to exhort the sheep in these last days. And a mighty shalom to all the hopeful elect listening in and observing the feast of Pesach, April 1st, 2026. As you can see in front of you, displayed is a table prepared to observe the Pesach in its ordinance on the first month and the 15th day of the month, in which the children of Israel prepared themselves spiritually, girded up with their shoes on their feet, girded up with the rod in their hand, and ready to make haste and eating of the Passover, and purging themselves from the iniquity and being covered by the blood of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, escaping out of the hands of Pharaoh and leaving Egypt. We're going to touch on first Numbers chapter 10, reading verses 9 to 10. And it reads, "And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets." As you can see displayed on the table, I do have the shofar. I will be blowing my trumpet before Eve while I have the grill on and burning some lamb chops with no seasonings. And then I'll bring it in and eat it in haste with my unleavened bread and my horseradish, the bitter herbs, with some wine in remembrance of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai and the sufferings that he went through to make ourselves acceptable so we can be redeemed out of here. Continuing on in verse 9, it says, "And ye shall be remembered before Yahweh your power, and ye shall be saved from your enemies." Verse 10, "And in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginning of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifices, and over your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your power. I am Yahweh your power." Our sacrifices are observance of the Passover, of the feast days, doing them with no spots and no blemishes, repenting, putting on good fruits and good works, exhorting one another, rebuking one another, and forbearing one another. These are our sacrifices and our peace offerings unto Yahweh our power. We're going to jump back a chapter in Numbers chapter 9, and it touches on the second Passover. And I'll briefly explain why there is a second Passover during our reading here. Verse 9 from the top, and it says, "And Yahweh spake unto Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year, after they were come out of the land of Egypt." So the reason for the observance of the second Passover is so that way after you are brought out of the land of Egypt, it is commanded that you continue in observing the Passover, but it's highly recommended that you observe the Passover in the first month from when the children of Israel did come out. We're going to jump quickly into Exodus chapter 12 and look at verse 42, and it says, "It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh your power for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is a night of Yahweh to be much observed of all the children of Yasharallah in all their generations." So this is why we have a second Passover, and it explains that you'll continue the Passover even after coming out of the land of Egypt, because it's a command from the Most High Yahweh. And reading at verse 2 of Numbers chapter 9, "Let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season." This is an appointed time to observe the Passover. It's the 15th day after the beginning of the first month of the new year, right? And this is the observance of in the 15th day, which is the full moon. Verse 3, "In the 14th day of this month at even you shall keep it in its appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it." It's still referencing keeping it in the first month. Verse 4, "And Moshe spake unto the children of Israel that they should keep the Passover." So he's telling that you must continue to keep the Passover. Verse 5, And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at even in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahweh has commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel. So this is why there's a second Passover. And as we observe the Passover, the righteous rehearsals, we are highly recommended that we observe the Pesach in its season, its proper season, and not to look at the second Passover as something that should be highly observed, as to where the first Passover is highly observed. I pray that makes sense. Verse 6, and there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, that they could not keep the Passover. So this goes on to tell you why the children of Israel did not keep the Passover in the first month, but in fact kept the Passover in the second month. So there is some grace for you if you are unable to keep the Passover in the first month due to being on a journey or being unclean of a dead body and so on and so forth. But we want to get these we want to get closer to getting them right the first time. So you know that the Passover is coming up months before it happens, so you kind of want to make arrangements for you to observe that time and season to properly partake of it, so you can be acceptable in the eyes of Yahweh Shai. So again, make sure you're observing, purging out the leaven out of your spirit, out of your behaviors, and then you can go ahead and partake of the Passover properly with having your lamb and your wine and unleavened bread, your horseradish, and just continue to study and show yourself approved. Until the next time, Shalom.